Hello students, I'm Professor Benavides. Let's go over how to install the software that you need for COSC 1315. So the first thing we're going to do is go to the author's website and download the software the way she wants you to install it. So go to Unit 1, go to the Read This First, click on it, and then scroll down until you see the section that says Installing the Required Software and click on the link to the book's website. Here you will click on Install Directions for Windows because these directions right here are for a PC. All right, so these directions require that you do three things. And let's just talk about them one step at a time. First of all, you're going to need to get the Java NetBeans bundle. All right, so let's get that. So we need that. That's the foundation. So click on the link JDK and NetBeans bundle. And then here you're going to have to click on accept the license agreement up here at the top. A lot of people don't see that. And then choose the version that you want to download according to your operating system. Most modern operating Windows computers today are Windows 64-bit. So let's click on that link. Then we see a little dialog box. It says that it wants to put it in the downloads folder, but it may open up somewhere else. It may open up to the desktop. I would recommend that you go ahead and put it in the download folder. So basically we're going to download a file and we're going to go ahead and execute it, right? So this is an executable file. And this file, we're going to go ahead and save it to our downloads folder, and then we're going to go ahead and run it. Apparently I've already got it, downloaded it, so I'm going to go ahead and just replace it. That's why the file name looked a little funny. Now here at the very bottom, now another thing you want to notice here is I'm using Chrome. Now your experience may be different depending upon what browser you're using. On the lower left, it says this file can't be downloaded securely. Keep. Well, guess what? If you don't click on keep, you're not going to be getting very far. Will you see that on other browsers? You may end up seeing other problems on other browsers. One thing we need to learn when we're in technology is to view the problem, diagnose it, and solve it. So it looks like the only thing I can do here is click keep. So let's click keep. And it starts downloading it. Okay, so this file, it's gonna, how long it takes, it depends on your, many things. It could depend on how fast your computer is, how fast your internet connection is, the time of the day, stuff like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to end up going to the downloads folder. We're going to double click on it. We're going to install the bundle. Now the bundle means that you're downloading two things. You're downloading Java, which is the programming language, and you're also going to be downloading NetBeans. Now NetBeans is what we're going to use to go ahead and type in our code. And we need to do this first because it's the next thing that we need to install, Alice, requires this. Now, I probably could just double click on it here, but I'm going to go ahead and open up my file manager. Okay, and I'm going to navigate to my downloads folder, and I see the file there, and I'm going to double click on it because it finished downloading. So now, it says, do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device? I'm going to say yes. And it's going to start the install. Right? I got dual screen, so it's opening up in the other monitor. I'm just dragging it in. Now, what is the JDK? The JDK is the Java Development Kit. That includes everything that we need to give us the platform independence of Java to be able to run our Java programs. NetBeans, on the other hand, is what we're going to use to type in our code. That's why it's referred to as a bundle. Okay, so this is what we're seeing now. And I'm going to click on Next. And then I'm going to go ahead and you're just going to be acknowledging that you're going to be putting it in a particular folder. And let your just accept the defaults as we go through this. And it's just telling you how much space it's going to take. We're going to click on install and just let it do its thing. So again, how long this takes depends on, how fast your computer is and stuff like that. But remember, in our class, we're going to be learning about Java and we're going to be learning about Alice as well. We're going to install Alice right after this, but we won't be able to use Alice unless we install this bundle first, because Alice was made with Java. So we've got to get through this part first. This is the important part. So again, what is Java? Java is a programming language. It's used for enterprise development. That means it's used in large companies to make business applications, either a desktop or internet or a variety of other kinds of applications. We're going to be learning how to use Java. But we're going to be using Alice as a stepping stone to Java. We're going to use Alice to create a graphical user interface really fast. And then we're going to go ahead and then bring that in to Java and edit it there. That's why the plugin for Alice is necessary. The plugin for Alice, we install it inside of NetBeans so that we can bring in an Alice application and modify it inside of our NetBeans program. Okay, so those are the three things that we need in this class. We've got to, number one, get the bundle. Okay, we need that because it's the foundation for Alice. Plus, we're also going to be doing some Java coding in our class. Alice is considered a stepping stone to more formal coding. Alice utilizes a graphical user interface that is easier for beginners to create graphics. To do the same in Java would require much more code. So we're able to get started coding faster by using this 1-2 punch that we're going to be using in this class. So in Alice, if you start up Alice, you do things like you put objects on the screen and then you give them behaviors and you can write code as well. But this code then can be used not only inside of Alice, but we can go ahead and bring in this project into a NetBeans project and take it up a notch and use a coding style that is more professional. Okay, so we start off with some easy coding styles and then we move to Java. Java's learning curve is steep. That means it takes a long time to learn how to do stuff. But to learn how to do stuff in Alice, it's relatively easy since we're dealing with a drag and drop kind of environment. So the problem that we're going to be having in this class with Alice is that Alice just got updated this August the 24th, and it's not downwardly compatible. So if you go to Alice's website and download Alice 3.6, you're going to have a problem if you're going to want to go work in our lab. In our lab, like say for example, J119 at the Spring Creek campus, or in our classroom J129, if you develop your Alice project in 3.6, you're not going to be able to open it up at school. But if you're not going to be using our lab in J119 or our classroom in J129 to work in, then you might as well just go ahead and get the new one. The new Alice just has a couple of bug fixes. So really it doesn't matter whether you download Alice 3.5 or 3.6, because I'm installing 3.6 right now. It's going to be my next step. And this is my computer here at school. So you know, if I've got 3.6 in my office, you can send me 3.5, I'm going to be able to open it, right? So you have the option of installing 3.5 or 3.6. Either way, I'm going to be walking you through the steps of installing Alice in just a minute, just so long as you understand the limitations that you have when you're using Alice. Okay, so we're going to be using NetBeans to create our Java code, and then we're going to be using Alice to create Alice projects. And then sometimes we're going to bring in our Alice project into NetBeans, and we're going to go ahead and modify the code there. One of the biggest things that we're going to need to learn in this class is understanding the structure of these files and folders that consist of a project. So when you create a Java project, it's going to consist of many folders and files. The advanced user will be looking for a file that ends in JAVA. That is where the source code resides. In other words, that's where the code that the programmer writes resides. Now this file is a text file. And this file then is going to then be compiled into bytecode so that it can then be used by the computer. And it's going to be used in a just-in-time way. And that's what makes Java platform independent. Platform independent means that you can go ahead and use Java on any operating system, whether it's a PC, Windows, or a Mac running the Mac OS, or even Linux. Linux is becoming very popular right now. So you can install this bundle, followed by Alice, and followed by the Alice plugin on either a PC, a Mac, or a Linux box. And you'll be able to create projects and files that you'll be able to send to anyone on any operating system. And they'll be able to open those files and run your projects. Why? Because of platform independence. A platform is simply a combination of hardware and software. So one platform is the Windows platform, which consists of a PC and the Windows operating system. Another operating system is the Mac, which consists of the Apple computer and its operating system called the Mac OS. And then we have Linux, which you can install on a PC or the Mac. The interesting thing about the Mac evolved from Unix. So you actually have a lot of similarities between the Mac and Linux, because Linux also evolved from Unix, which is an industrial strength, operating system used by many corporations today that provide for a robust and secure operating system and environment. Okay, so that's how we're going to go ahead and use this software, the 3 bits of software. At first, we're going to start just using Alice and NetBeans, and then later on, we'll learn how to go ahead and use the plugin. So we won't just throw this all at you at one time. We'll just take it, one step at a time. But you're going to want to go ahead and probably get the installation out of the way now so that you won't have to bother with it later. A lot of times you're going to probably think that this installation process is going to be much more complex than the 1 or 2 little bitty lines of code that we're going to be learning in the beginning of your class, because it's just a contrast. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and now we get to say setup complete. I'm going to click on finish. All right, and close. So sometimes students ask me, how do I know if it's installed? Because they don't, well, you will see an icon for NetBeans on the desktop, but all you got to do here is just type in NetBeans and press enter, and you can go ahead and start NetBeans for the first time. One thing that you'll notice about NetBeans is that it's not the fastest program if you've got an older computer. People who do programming many times need a lot of memory. So this is NetBeans. To go ahead and start NetBeans project, we're going to click on Start, New Project, and from here we can choose Java application, etc. I'll come back to this. I just wanted to show you what the interface looks like because we have to go and install Alice now. Clicking Cancel and Close. So now we're finished with the bundle. We're ready to go ahead and go to the next step. I'm going to close this tab, okay, and what we're going to do now is we're going to go and install the next step. So after we install the NetBeans bundle, which is step 1, we're going to go to Alice. Now here's where it gets a little tricky. Remember, if you're going to want to work in the school, you're going to want to install 3.5. The way to do that is you've got to go to the archive build. But if you're going to be working at home, you might as well just get 6. I'll show you where both of those are, okay? So if you go to Alice's website, here's the link for it right here. You're going to end up having to go to the archives build plus sign to get the archive build. By that means, it means the old one. So let's go to Alice and just get the silly thing, right? So here's Alice. Scroll down. So what we got. If you just want to get the latest one, just click right here and get the latest one. Otherwise, you're going to have to scroll down here and go to archive build. See how I did that? You have to click on it and click on get 3.5 Alice. The 64-bit if you've got a newer computer, or the 32-bit if you've got an older computer. Guess what? If you got a newer computer and you put 32-bit on, it'll still work. All right? So I'm going to go ahead and install Alice 64-bit, but I'm going to go ahead and download the 3.6. That way I can get it from, if you send me a 3.5, I'll be able to open it. And if you by mistake get 3.6, I'll be able to open that too. So again, here's the dichotomy. If you want to work it you want to be able to go back and forth, click on this 3.5. If you want to just go ahead and work at home, then you might as well just get the new one here, right? So let's go ahead and get that. I'm going to go ahead and download this to my downloads folder and click Save. So again, we have a situation where we're downloading an executable file. We're going to have to wait for it to download, and then we're going to go ahead and double click on it. I know it's an executable file because it ends in exe, just like the JDK. Now, the JDK bundle, remember that included the Java Development Kit as well as NetBeans. And the Java Development Kit includes everything you need to go ahead and make Java applications. You don't necessarily need NetBeans. You can use any editor. There are a variety of editors that you can go ahead and use. We're going to be using NetBeans in our class, and it's required that you use NetBeans. Let me go ahead and tell you why. Is because you all are just starting out, and you need something that we're all going to be using that's going to be the same. So I know you could use Eclipse, and there's other editors that you can use to write your Java code. But in our class, we are going to go ahead and use NetBeans. That's why we're asking you to download and install this bundle, which includes the Java JDK and the NetBeans, IDE. Remember that an IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. Okay, we've got to go ahead and get that done first because Alice is made with Java. So Alice won't work unless you did step 1. Now we're already in step 2, as you can see. I'm waiting for it to download completely, to my computer, and the time it takes depends upon many things. The time of day, your internet connection, the speed of your computer, all of that will determine the speed by which you get this file. Now, once we do get this file, we're going to pretty much do the same thing to it. We're going to double click on it and we're going to install Alice. And I'll launch it and compare it, compare it to NetBeans. But basically, I think one of the major differences that you will experience between using Alice versus using NetBeans is that with Alice, you end up with one file, one project file that represents the program that you're working on. It ends in A3P, right? That is the file extension. One file. That's a very big thing to remember here. So one file versus NetBeans. In NetBeans, when you create a project, you're going to end up with a project folder, and that project folder is going to contain many, well, I don't say many, but several other folders with files in them. One of the most important files in your NetBeans project folder, which contains the project that you're going to be working on, the program that you're going to be writing, that you're going to be compiling and creating, okay? This is the code, this code that you write is going to be in a text file, and that text file ends in JAVA. Many times you will find that advanced users can just go to the file that ends in JAVA and edit it with other simple editors. Like, for example, one of the ones that I like is an editor called Jcreator. And I give you a link to Jcreator in my website. Now, why do I like that one? Well, because since Jcreator is so simple, it opens up real fast and I can make changes real fast to it, okay? The only bad part, well, I could say a bad part is the price to pay is that Jcreator doesn't offer as much help as NetBeans does. See, when you're writing code in NetBeans, as you're writing the code, you're getting all kinds of feedback about that. Well, if you're typing it in wrong, you will find out right away. Not like some other editors and some other languages where you don't know that you've typed in something wrong until you've actually run the program. That can happen too in NetBeans. But many times you end up in a situation where you type your code and you'll get like a little squiggly, a little red squiggly. Kind of reminds me of being inside a Word where when you misspell something, you will go ahead and get some kind of visual feedback. That's how NetBeans works. Now, some people like that, some people don't. It's kind of hard for the beginner to get used to that kind of visual feedback because when you're first learning to write code, when you're seeing things pop up on the screen, it can be distracting. And the distraction can sometimes confuse the beginner. So you have to give it a little bit of time. One good thing is that your book is an excellent example of writing good, simple Java code. The code that is in your book is something to be emulated. That means copied, so that you also are writing code in a good way. It's kind of like writing a sentence or a paragraph that's well written over again so that you can see how it is constructed. That's pretty much what we're going to be doing with a large part of this class, is looking at code that has been written syntactically correct. And our job is to go ahead and emulate that. Now that's going to be really good for beginners. Sometimes you're going to find that advanced users don't like that at all. They want to go ahead and start deviating and doing different things. So my recommendation to you is this. My recommendation, if you're an advanced user and you want to deviate, go ahead and do so, but go ahead and do so and keep that project to yourself. Admire it at home, and you can go ahead and fantasize about how much more superior it is to what I'm asking you to do, which is fine because, you know, if you didn't have that kind of ego, you probably wouldn't be a programmer, right? So I'm asking for you to limit yourself to the parameters of every application. So because every lab assignment has a particular kind of idea that needs to be completed, and they're stepping stones for the beginner, and you don't want to go ahead and get out of these stepping stones. You want to go ahead and make sure that you complete every single little stepping stone. Okay, so that's a really important part to being successful, you know, in our class. So while Alice is loading, as you can see in the lower left, it still needs a little bit more time on here. We can go ahead and do some other things while it's completing and come back to this. Because after Alice is done, then we only need the third part, which is installing the plugin. Okay, so what I can do right now is to just give you a little fast demo of a Java application. So let me go ahead and start NetBeans. And the way I do that is I'm going to come over here to my start menu, and I'm going to go ahead and type in NET. And notice how it highlights NetBeans, and I'm going to go ahead and launch it. And it's launching in a different window, and I'll bring it in just a second. So when you're first starting out, you want to be comfortable with this interface. To start a new project in NetBeans, you're going to go File, and then you're going to go ahead and go New Project. Then we're going to go ahead and choose Java application for now and click Next. Then we're going to go ahead and give your project a name. I'm going to call it Hello World. And notice that this project folder is going to be in a folder called NetBeans Projects that's in the Documents folder of your username. I called the project with a capital, started with a capital letter, and every other word starts with a capital letter because it's very important in Java. It's our convention. This is going to end up being the name of the class, and the class needs to go ahead and start with a capital letter. We're going to be getting rid of package statements, and the way you do that is you get rid of the period and everything to the left of the period. But for right now, I'm going to leave it there so you can see what you're not supposed to have. I'm going to accept this default because a lot of times students say, you know what, I did the lab, but I don't know where it is. So the first place you should look if you don't know where it is inside of the NetBeans project folder. I'm going to go ahead and click on Finish. And this creates a structure for me. So here's the structure. Let me go ahead and tell you at the top in gray, from numbers 1 through 5, we have comments. Then we have this package statement, and we'll talk more about that later. And then we have the class, and all the code will be inside this class. Inside this class, we have a method called main. And in main is where we're going to type our code. So what I'm asking you to do, if you want to follow along in this demo while Alice is completing her installation, is to go to the very end of this line 18 and press enter, and we're going to write our first line of code. So the first line of code is going to be system dot out dot print line, open parenthesis, and then we're going to just say hello world in double quotes. Exclamation. All right, so let's take a quick look at this. The S in system has to be capitalized. This line of code, line 19, is what you have to type just to type hello world to the console window. Now, we're not going to have to actually go to the console window because the console window is going to be shown to us below in NetBeans. All right, so to run this project file, I'm going to go ahead and come over here to this green button and click on the play button or run button. And that will run your project file. See how it says hello world? And it's a successful build. Now, sometimes you don't get a successful build, or sometimes you get some effects that you didn't expect. One of the things that happens many times when people are learning is they're not sure exactly where to put this one line of code. Let me repeat. This one line of code needs to be inside the main method. And the main method has an opening and closing curly brackets. I'm going to be asking you in this class to align the curly brackets so that you can be more cognizant of them. So go right in front of the first curly bracket inside of the main method and press enter. See how it's kind of like a little package? I can expand and collapse this module or method by clicking on the minus or plus sign here. Okay, so this opening and closing curly bracket encloses a block of code. I also have for you to notice that this main method is inside the class, and the class name became the name of your project that you started. And in Java, classes must start with a capital H, and if they're more than one word, the next word must be capitalized as well. So I'm going to go ahead and align that curly bracket as well. Now, this is not required for you to make your code run faster or so that it doesn't have errors. It's done only for you to be more cognizant of the idea that your project is enclosed in a class. And the class has an opening and close curly bracket. Now this is not parenthesis, this is a curly bracket. And inside of the class, we have the main method. Okay? So one of the other things that my students typically ask is, can you make the code bigger? So let's see if we can figure that out. Let's go to Tools and Options. And here, I'm going to click on Fonts and Colors. And on the left-hand side, I can see that it's set to monospace 13. Certainly we can change this in many different ways, but if I click on the ... or the More button, I can go ahead and view, I can set this to different fonts and different sizes. For right now, I'm just going to go ahead and make this a size 24 because I like big font. I'm nearsighted. So I'm going to go ahead and select 24 and click OK. And then it kind of gives you a preview of what your code would look like. All right. And then when you finally click OK or apply, it applies that to your code window. Also in your code window, you'll notice that I can resize the windows or the panes of the windows so that I can see more of the code as possible, or I can just simply scroll up and down. One thing that you see here is something gray is something called comments. Comments are not compiled. We put comments in so that we can go ahead and document the program. If we wanted to run this again, we already did, but let's run it again. We see the output below. An interesting thing about NetBeans is when you run it, it's saved. So one of the bad habits that you need to get out of your system right now, if you're a word processing kind of person, is to stop doing this file, save as. Now there's a purpose for that, but we don't want to do that. If I do file, save as, let me go ahead and show you what you shouldn't do. And let's say I want to, this is a way that I can go ahead and put just that file somewhere else. So I'm going to go to the desktop and click save. And now that file is on the desktop as well. We'll go and look at that in just a minute. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and close NetBeans and come back in and show you how you can go ahead and run that program again, or run your project again. Closing NetBeans. Let me go ahead and start NetBeans up one more time. Remember, NetBeans is just an IDE. We use it to create our Java programs, and we just created Hello World, and everybody starts with Hello World. All right, so when you open up NetBeans, it always opens up the previous project. If that confuses you, you can close it. Now, sometimes students ask me, how do I get to my code? How do I see my code? Well, if you click on the tab up here, you'll be able to see your code, or if you double click on the file, or just, double click on the file, you'll be able to see your code. You can also close the project. It doesn't delete the project, but close it from showing up here by right mouse clicking on here and going to close. What we want to do right now is we want to open up, I know it was already open, but let's pretend that we had just put the project folder on the desktop, or actually we didn't, we saved it to the default location. So how do we get there? So you're going to go File, Open Project. Now it's always going to open up to the NetBeans project folder. If I double click on this, I can see that it's, you know, what the path is on this. In fact, I can continue to go up. If I click on the up arrow, see how it's in Documents, and Documents is in part of my account, which is R. Benavides, right? Let me hit cancel and come back in again. File, Open Project. Now there's many other options and we'll discuss them later, but we go Open Project and we'll select Hello World and Open. That is how you'll be opening your projects, okay? Very important that you understand that. All right, so let me go ahead and close that. I want to show you one more thing before we start messing with Alice, is that if I open up my File Explorer and go to Documents, I'm going to be looking for the NetBeans folder, NetBeans project, and there's my Hello World. You don't want to be doing this, what I'm going to be showing you right now, unless you're an advanced user. From here, you can double click on this and you can look at the folders that we have. Remember the file that I was telling you called the source file? Or it's inside the source folder. And inside the source folder, there's a folder called Hello World, which is which encloses the Hello World Java file. In other words, the package. And a package is just a name for a folder. Remember I told you it was going to be. I have this already associated with my Jcreator. If I were to double click on this, I can open this up in another program called Jcreator, which is a very fast way to open up Java files, but it doesn't offer the IntelliSense that NetBeans does. Okay. The other thing I wanted to show you, remember how I showed you how to do that file save as? Go to the desktop and then there's my Hello World right there. See how it doesn't have all of the other files? You don't want to do that. You want to send me the entire NetBeans project folder. All right. So that's the distinction between file save as and saving your file the way it should be. Actually, you're not. You just have to realize is that when you run your program in NetBeans, it is automatically saved. Okay, that is a major distinction, and some people just have to get that out of their system, because I will be taking points off if you just send me just the Java file. Remember, let me show that to you again. Remember, and you'll notice here, let me go click on View. You may not see the file extension. You're going to want to go to View and make sure there's a check mark on File Name Extension. The default is not to have this on. So if you don't have the file extension on, you may say, oh, I'm going to have to rename that. No, you don't have to do that. It's already there. But the default is to not show file extensions in Windows, nor on the Mac. It does not show file extensions as well. If you want to see the file extension, you need to go to View and click on File Name Extensions, and that allows you to go ahead and view that file. Okay, so this is a Java file, and the other file that you need to be aware of that I talked to you about was the inside of the NetBeans folder. We've got the entire Hello World. I already showed you the source folder. Inside the bill folder, this is where the files that get compiled reside, and that ends in a file that in CLASS, and this contains the code necessary for the computer to do what it needs to get done. This is not for humans, right? This is for the computer. So let me go ahead and close that. I noticed that I'm finished now. See how my download is complete? So I'm going to go to my downloads folder. I probably could just double click on that file, go to my downloads, and here's Alice right here. See that? So I'm going to double click on this. If you downloaded the 5, it will say 3_5. And we're going to go ahead and install this. So you may get this. It may say Windows Protection and don't run. May seem like it's the only thing that you can do, but it seems like they hide the things that you need to do. You've got to click on more information, guys. There's no other choice. Then from here, we say run anyway. They should have done better. Come on. They just want, it seems like they just want everything to go through the App Store. And you know what? Don't blame Windows alone. The Mac does the same thing in their own way. Mac people, if they end up getting something similar to this, or it won't install at all, and they have to go into their system preferences, go into security, and enable Alice to get installed. All right, so they're equal. They're equal. Run anyway. Okay, so we end up with this little dialog that's installing Alice, and this will install the second program that we need. Remember, we use Alice to create a simple graphical environment by dragging and dropping. I will give you a simple demonstration in just a minute. So here we say we're going to choose English for sure. And it's going to be starting up in just a minute. I'm going to just minimize this since we don't need that anymore. And Alice should start up in just a minute. It just takes a little bit of time if you're on a slower computer, right? Finally showed up. And look at the dialogue I get. It says, do you want to allow this app from an unknown publisher to make changes to your device? You know, you may not have waited like I just did and maybe closed. And if that were to have happened, then you wouldn't have finished. So we need to be able to see, this is called user access control, or what advanced users call UAC, right? And this is a way of stopping bad things from getting installed on your computer unless you have administrative rights. So we're going to go ahead and say here, do you want to allow this app from an unknown publisher to make changes to your computer? We're going to say yes. All right. And then it's going to go ahead and do another slow installation. Welcome to Alice. Next. And then they want us to accept the agreement. Next. And then this is kind of important. File association. It says select the file association that you want. You want to have that checked. It's a good thing that it's already checked. So that means that files that end in A3P, if you double click on them, they'll open up in Alice. Yes, I want that. And then we're going to go ahead and accept that it's going to be installed off the root directory of, not the root directory, in the project program files folder. And then we're going to go ahead and create it on the menu as well. And see, it's got a check mark on create a start menu folder. Create a shortcut for all users. Why not? You can delete it later. There was a shortcut for NetBeans as well. And then now it says create a desktop icon. Yeah, fine. They want to be everywhere. Everybody wants to be everywhere, right? If you don't have a desktop icon to start Alice, you can just go to the start button and just type in Alice and launch Alice from there. So now we've got two important programs on. We've got NetBeans that we're going to be using to create our Java applications. And you saw that when we create a NetBeans application that it has many subfolders. And I said, please don't go inside those folders unless you really know what you're doing. You're going to be sending to me the entire project folder, not just the file that ends in JAVA. There's always someone that really feels that that's really all that they want to send me, and it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good for that person, okay? So you need to be aware of how, we're going to be submitting things. You're going to be submitting the entire project. I just want one way, just one way. Otherwise, we end up, some people do it one way, some people do it another way, and things get out of hand. So let's just go ahead and standardize on one way of doing things. Now, some students say, you know what, I installed Alice, but I don't know what version of Alice I have. Well, here you can see very clearly that we're installing Alice 3.6. And you can also find out what kind of Alice you have if you go to the help menu. It may be a little bit different on the Mac. I've noticed that even though we're able to open up files, the interfaces for NetBeans and Alice are slightly different because they have the different operating systems have different requirements of where they want things, either on the left or on the right, or whether there's going to be preferences or options. Those are all things that need to be complied with if that application wants to run in that operating system. So they're not, even though it's the same version, you will find some slight minor differences in the menus between Alice 3.6 on the Mac versus Alice 3.6 on the PC. Remember, I'm installing this on my computer, so the downward compatibility is not going to be an issue. The issue is if you install 3.6 at your house, like I did right now, you're not going to be able to go ahead and open up your Alice project in our lab, because our labs have Alice 3.5. Maybe that will change in the near future, but for right now, that's the story. So now I'm just going to click finish. And we're finished installing the second great thing. Okay. So now let's just go ahead and start Alice, and I'll create a simple Alice file or Alice project. I just type in ALIC and we'll start Alice. And it's loading up. Not exactly the fastest thing on earth. And here it is. We need to choose the background, so I'm just going to choose grass. Okay. And then when I do that, I have to bring it in from the other monitor. After you choose the background, then what you're going to be doing is you're going to be looking at the interface. And it's slow the first time you come in, and it'll be a little bit better as time goes on. Typically what we do is we go into setup scene, and we add we add an object to the screen, and then we go to edit code. After we add the object, we can go to edit code and have her say something. Like say, for example, I can drag this tile and put it here and go into custom and say, hello world. Right? And a comment is just dragging this comment and dropping it right here. And then you can just type in your comment. To save this file, we click File Save, and then we're going to go ahead, you can designate where you want to save it. I'm going to save it on the desktop, and I'm going to call it Hello World. All right, those two things are done. So I'm closing that, and let me minimize this so you can see. Let me bring in what I have from the other monitor so that you can see what has occurred. So basically, we installed NetBeans. Then I remember I did the file save for this Hello World file. Then because the Hello World project folder is inside of the documents folder, here's the shortcut to Alice, which kind of goes with that. Here's the, this is going to be confusing for a lot of people, guys. So here's your Alice file, helloworld.a3p. Alice files create a folder called .bak. This is going to really confuse a lot of people. I wish they wouldn't do it, but it's a backup folder for this. If you want to open up your Alice project, you would double click on this. Well, of course, you could always open up Alice and do file open. So those are the two ways that you can go ahead and open up your Alice project. Now, the thing to remember about this BAK folder, so here's your thing. If you want to run it, did I run it before? I think I forgot to run it. Click on run, and there she is. She said, hello world. Did you see that? Let me run it again in case you missed my work of art. Hello world. There you go. The thing to remember about this .bak folders is that please don't send them to me, right? There'll be extra points off if you send the BAK folder. You're only going to be sending in the Alice project, okay? So now we need just one more thing, right? We need to go ahead and get we did step one, we did step two, and now we need to get that little plug-in thingy. So the idea about this plug-in is that they got to match. So if you installed Alice 3.5, you got to get the Alice 3.5 plug-in. And if they don't match up, it's not going to be good, right? It's not going to be good. So you got to be really, really, really careful about that. Now she's provided you with the links to get, the older one. She wants to get the older one. If you're going to be coming to class, you're going to go down to the archive bills. Let's just go there and just take a quick look. Okay, so see, here's the Alice 3 with NetBeans. So, no, that's something else. Let's see now. Not that. Here it is, Alice plugin. Finally, when you're new, you might go ahead and mess up with the other stuff on there. We're going to go ahead. See, this is what we need right here. So I'm going to go ahead and get the latest one, which is this one right here. But if you are going to be matching up with 3.5, you got to click on this and get the 3.5 version, which is this one right here. Download NetBeans plugin for Java 8, right? I'm going to go ahead and get the latest. And I'm going to go ahead and put it in my downloads folder. See how this, it's a file that ends in NBM. Do not try and open it, just download it. It's a really, 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 really small file, okay? If I'm using Chrome, so your experience may be different in different different browsers. Chrome kind of shows you an activity bar so that you can get an idea as to how much time you have left, until things finish. Notice how it's kind of like showing that it's almost done. And when it's done, then we can go to that folder. Actually, don't go to the folder. I'll show you how you go ahead and get it. And I'm going to go off of memory here. Hopefully I remember. If you can't remember, basically, you would then go to your PDF. And on the PDF, it walks you through the steps. Step 3. on how to go ahead and get it loaded on your NetBeans. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start NetBeans up. And we'll know that we install it right because there'll be an extra kind of project that we can install. So I'm going to go to Tools. Let's go off of memory here, and I think I should choose plugins instead of options. Let's choose plugins. Then, is it an update? No. Available, downloads, installed. What makes sense here? Available plugins, downloaded, installed, settings. May have to look at the directions after all, right? Downloaded. That kind of makes sense, right? That makes sense. I just downloaded it, right? So now we go to add plugins. So then we got to navigate to where the folder is. So we're going to go to this PC, and I'm going to go to my downloads folder, and there it is. I'm going to select it, click open, and see how I'm going to install 3.6. They got to match, guys. Click close. So that now, when I go file, new project, did I not install it right? Was there an extra step? Because it's not showing up here. Let's try that again. I'm going to go to Tools, Plugins, download it. It's there. Did I forget to click install? I thought I did. So I'm going to select it, click install. And now, I guess I had forgot that, right? We'll go to next, accept the silly agreement, install. And then, what is this? One plugin out of one requires your attention. Warning. We'll just say continue. All right. We're almost there, guys. 3 things that we needed to go ahead and get everything that we need for this class. So it says it's finished. We click finish. I don't know why I clicked premature on the other one. I didn't finish the install. Click close. Let's try this again. We'll know the reason how you know this is done right is if you click file and you go new project, see where it says Alice project from existing NetBeans project, Java project from existing Alice project. That's when you know you've installed it right. So let's see how we're going to use this. I'm here already. We're going to go to next. We got to find the Alice project. Remember I just did that hello world thing on the desktop? I'm going to go to the desktop, and here's my Alice. Okay, file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this into NetBeans. Click open. Now, I'm going to go ahead and accept the default name. I could change it. I'm going to put, let's go ahead and put this, let's go ahead and put this, I'll leave it there. Notice how I put a 2 on there. It put a 2 on there because I have a Java project called Hello World, and it doesn't let me do that. Okay, so it puts a 2 on there. So let's click on finish. Almost finished, guys. Hang tight and just say yes. So do you want to start with a clean slate? Why not? All right, so here it is. If you scroll down, you'll see. I'm going to let me give myself a little bit more viewing area so you can see what's important here. We're going to look for a method called my first method. What you may want to do is align the curly brackets like I showed you. And that comment is kind of like not aligned properly. Here's that one line of code. Now we wrote it in a slightly different, remember how we were in Alice and we dragged the same method over there? So now from here on, we can write more code now. Oh, what we want to say. That's good enough, right? And you're getting a red, this is the red, the feedback I was talking to you about. this line of code in Java is not complete because a statement is because every statement in Java terminates in a semicolon, right? So I'm going to go ahead and run this and see what happens. Okay, it opened up in another thing here. So let me go ahead and let me see if I can get this to open up. But it's just the program opens up again, and it says hello world, and then it says hi. Take my word for it. I got the dual monitor, so it's there. You got the tail end of that on there. So it said hello world and then hi. Okay, so let's close that and let me just verify where my files are or my folders. So we're going to go ahead and go to Documents, and inside of NetBeans project folders, I've got this is the Java application, and then this is the Alice. It's a Java application, but this is the one that includes that I brought in the Alice project onto it. Okay, well that pretty much completes the installation of the software, and I threw in sort of like an orientation to how to go ahead and build and check to make sure that you have installed the software correctly. But other than that, I've got nothing else for you. Thank you very much. Professor Benavides, over and out.